everyone, and welcome to our Liverpool Transfer Show on Football Tour Podcast. My name is Ozzy, and I'm your host for this evening. Now, after the breaking news yesterday that Liverpool have missed out in the race of signing Antoine Semenyo, the club needs to move on and find an alternative target. Now, according to rumours, we have identified a player, and preliminary talks have already begun. So we'll talk about that player in question and other rumors that have also been circulating today. But before we begin, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Now, the player in question is none other than Karim Adeyemi. Now, excuse me, the current rumor is that Adeyemi is one of the names being considered as an option for Liverpool in January. Preliminary talks have already been held with the forwards representatives, with the 23-year-old valued at around £20 million. So, my thoughts on the player in terms of his footballing ability, I think he's very talented. I think he would be the right profile for us. A player that has pretty much played right wing for large parts of his career, but has also played on the left wing, can play up top as well. If you've not seen him play, very, very quick on the ball, rapid on the wings, decent finisher, maybe not as clinical as he should be, but I do think he's very effective on the wings and can be disruptive to any opponent's defense. In terms of age, he's 23 years of age, so he's at a good age where he's learnt his trade at previous clubs, including Red Bull Salzburg, and currently at Dortmund. So he's at a right age, and he's been at right sort of clubs as well that would have allowed him to have developed, and maybe a next step is on the horizon for him. The transfer fee is around £20 million, which, let's be honest, guys, is an absolute bargain in this market. So even if he's not the finished article for £20 million, it might be worth a hit to try and sign a player of his quality. But having said all of those glorious references there, uh, I don't think this deal will be happening anytime soon. Um, for a few reasons, but we'll go into a bit more detail. As I mentioned, he started his career at Red Bull Salzburg. He had a huge reputation there, pretty much tied as the next big thing. Like, that's how highly regarded he was at the time. But personally, I don't think he's hit the heights that were expected of him. Uh, but let me not, sound too harsh. At the same time, he's only 23 years of age, so maybe a move to a club like Liverpool could elevate his game further, where he knows that he has to really step up if he wants to be known or if he wants to be playing first team football. But unfortunately, another reason why I don't see it happening, there's been a couple of off-field issues or speculation that I feel like could rule out a move for Adeyemi. One isn't too major, but I read something a few days ago, ironically, we linked with him literally a week after. Uh, so the rumor was that he was looking to move away from Dortmund because his girlfriend wants to relocate to a major city. Um, Now, my thoughts on that would be: would she classify Liverpool as a major city? Some would, but if you're not from the UK, you may not consider Liverpool as a major city. You may consider it as a well-known city, but not a major city. So my assumption would be that she would classify cities like London, Paris, Milan, Barcelona as the major cities that she wants her boyfriend to move to. So maybe that rules us out. I'm not sure. So, but I think the main issue is this part. And you know what we do as a club? We always do our research on players, especially off field. And unfortunately, there was a bit of concerning news regarding Karim Adeyemi last month, and it's that he was in possession of two illegal weapons. Now, before you start getting ideas of what those illegal weapons were, it was a knuckle duster and a taser. So not quite AK-47s, but of course, those weapons are still regarded as illegal under German law without an official permit. And the crazy part of this whole story is that when he apologized, he had to release a statement. He confirmed that he ordered a so called mystery box from the internet. It contained these items that, of course, are not permitted under weapons legislation. And then many months later, that package was delivered and ended up unopened at the police station, which just sounds like it was a witch hunt, like it was granted for him to get into trouble, which sounds a bit crazy, but you just don't know in this day and age what people are like. And unfortunately, when you are in the public eye, people want to see your downfall, and that might have been an incident that is in reflection of that. But also, in regards to being, charged for possession of illegal weapons in Germany, he was very lucky that he wasn't sentenced to prison. In some cases, he may have got jail time for about 3 years. But luckily for him, due to his profession and wealth, he was sanctioned with a huge fine of 450,000 euros, which is still a crazy amount. And that was calculated based on his income. As a result, he received an entry in the central register, but did not have a formal or incur a formal criminal record. Uh, so that just happened literally last month. We're talking about a few weeks ago. So there's no way the club would scout or profile a player like that who's just had a recent incident with the law and consider it to be a sign that they would want to make. As great as you could be on the pitch, if your profile doesn't meet not targets, their sort of specifications in terms of, or their requirements, I should say, in what they want as a model professional. Unfortunately, that does not tick the box at all. So I don't think there's any truth to rumors, but if we're just talking football, I don't think he's a bad player. I think he would be a decent signing for us. I think he would be a welcomed addition. I don't see him being a starter for Liverpool, but he definitely challenge for the left wing or the right wing positions. Comfortable on either wing, left footed. So if he's playing on the left, he's more direct and he's whipping in crosses. Playing on the right hand side, he loves to cut in and shoot from distance as well. So could be an interesting profile based on what I've seen in the off-field issues. I don't know if this is going to be a realistic deal. But if we're just speaking football, I think he would be a decent signing for us. Before we move on, just going to go through some of the comments there. Lee says, big up Rez, big up Lee. I hope you're well. Burton Jazz says, Adeyemi to Liverpool, 20 million, good deal. It is a good deal in terms of the price, but I've just mentioned there's a few off-field issues that could be a stumbling block. Um, let's see if that's regarded as major sort of alarm bells for Liverpool. If not, it's probably been disregarded, and they feel like he's got enough potential to kind of progress it, or they thought whatever happened off field is not much of a big of an issue, and it's just a simple mistake from a young player. I don't think that's going to be the case, but uh, yeah, when you're caught with look, it wasn't guns or anything like that, but it's illegal weapons that he was in possession of. And unfortunately, got caught, and because of that, he's had to face a huge financial burden. So I don't think they'll regard that as a wise signing because it shows a lack of maturity. 23 years of age, of course, he's still young, to the normal world. But when you're a professional, you have to be very careful in terms of what activities you get involved in. And signing up for a mystery box and then receiving guns, or should I say, receiving illegal weapons, doesn't make sense as well at the same time. So no, I don't think he would fit the profile that Liverpool would want from off the field sort of requirements there. So, good deal in terms of a footballing point of view, but I don't think it would be a deal for Liverpool Football Club. Lee says we won't touch him with Barge Pro now. Yeah, if I literally just came across this before I went live, and this incident happened a few weeks ago, and it could hamper his selection for the German World Cup squad. So that's something they're really considering, and he has to really show sincerity in terms of the mistake he made. But of course, he has to continue to play or maybe even exceed playing expectations in order to be selected for the World Cup next season. So yeah, it's not looking good for him, and I don't see a move to Liverpool being realistic either. Uh, okay, so let's move on and speak about another rumor. You guys know about my thoughts on Bastoni, one of my dream signings for Liverpool. And this rumor just seems to stick around. Maybe it's because it's the holiday season and these media outlets just want to get as many clicks as possible, which I'm sure is probably the case. But the rumor is that Liverpool are ready to go head to head with Barcelona for Inter Milan centre back Alessandro Bastoni, should the Italian fail to agree a new contract. So this fail to agree a new contract seems like it's always a regular sort of strap plan when it comes to these sort of headlines and all that sort of stuff because he's clearly a player that doesn't want to move from Inter Milan, in my opinion, and may not even want to move out of Italy. So I'm not sure on Bastoni. I like, as in the player, I admire the player. I think he's a phenomenal talent. I just don't know if he would be willing to move away from Italy at this stage of his career. Uh, of course, the benefits of joining a club like Liverpool is that we've already got two Italians. One of his best mates is here in Chiesa. God knows how long he'll be here for, but at this stage, he is still a Liverpool player. And we've also got a young kid in Leone as well, who is a future Italian centre back in the national team, in my opinion. So, that would be a positive for him to move over to a foreign club and have two Italians already, in his in his sort of new settings and new atmosphere, which definitely helps in terms of settling in and getting acclimatized to the way the team trains, but also off field, from a personal point of view, these two players can help him, find a place to live and all that sort of stuff. Um, so, it would be a huge positive if he was to ever consider a move to the Premier League. I think Liverpool would definitely be one club that he would look at as a possible destination. I just don't know if this is a realistic deal. Lee's asked what his price tag. So the price tag we're hearing is about £85 million. So I'm not sure if Liverpool are willing to splash that cash again on a high-profile player. He's 26 years of age, so entering his prime years, I would say as a centre back. I would say it's worth it, but it's not my money, so I don't really have too much to stand on. But in terms of the market, 85 is not too crazy, if I'm being honest. You're getting linked with centre backs that are decent at best, and their price range is like 50, 60 kind of £1 million. So if you stump up a little bit, you for me will be able to get a world class defender. I put him in that kind of category. I think he's that good. Um, of course, there will be question marks in terms of his suitability to the way Liverpool play and also the Premier League. For most parts of his career, he's played in a back three. And when we faced Inter Milan not so long ago, you could tell he's very comfortable in that position. Ends up having a free role on that left hand side. At Liverpool, if you were positioned in a centre back pairing of two defenders, is that something that he would adjust to because he hasn't played there for most parts of his career? So that would be the question mark, in my opinion. But if there's any opportunity of us signing him, I feel like Liverpool should go all in and try and get this Italian defender to the club. And who knows, maybe a pairing of Bastoni and Leone could be the future for Liverpool Football Club. So you never know. But at this stage, it seems a bit like a pipeline dream in both scenarios. So we'll see what the future holds for these links. But if he was to sign, I would be absolutely ecstatic about him joining Liverpool. Next rumor is another centre back in Schlotterbeck. Now, in regards to Schlotterbeck, Liverpool want to sign the German defender in January. He, however, prefers a move uh, in the summer because of the upcoming World Cup. So he doesn't want to hamper his chances by moving clubs at this stage. But apparently, Liverpool are going to try and convince him to join early. So my thoughts on that: if he was to join Liverpool this January window, I think we could give him assurances that he will be a first team player. I don't think Konate has been great at all this season. He's had maybe a handful of decent games at best. So for me, if Schlotterbeck was to come in, I think he would slot into starting lineup straight away. I really do. I think he's such a fantastic talent. Good age as well, 25 years of age. But in terms of what he brings to the table, he's big, he's strong, technically really good, great passing range. He doesn't just play. sideways passes. He plays very smart, calculated passes where it like one pass could literally give the midfielder plenty of space to roam around. So he's making the right passes and not just passes for stat padding and having to present that he's got a high possession rate on the pitch. So he's a very calculated passer of the ball, left-footed, so it gives us a different dimension. We could play a back three if we needed to. Any players on the left side, we can play our traditional back four, and he could play alongside Van Dijk. My only concern would be Van Dijk normally plays on the left side. That's where he's played for large parts of his career. But I do know with Van Dijk, when he started in his younger days, he played on the right side, being right foot, of course. So I think those two can form a great partnership together. So for me, I don't think it's something kind of like where we can't expect a signing in January. I would love for us to sign a centre back, and if I had to throw in the name, I think I would go for Schlotterbeck. He would be top of my list. And I don't think he'd cost a huge amount of money. The rumor fee is about 40 to 45 million pounds. Bayern Munich are also monitoring his situation at this stage. He picked up a huge injury last season, but has seems to have bounced back and he's playing some really good football for Dortmund this season. So for me, this is a no-brainer. We have to try and get him on board. If we could get Mark Gahey either in January or next summer on a free, then that's a bonus. And you're paying £45 million for two defenders. That's how I would look at it altogether. So that would make perfect business sense, but also from a footballing point of view, you've got two top quality centre backs on the pitch and could form a great partnership for years and years. So for me, you know, this would be the right profile of a signing for Liverpool. And dare I say, he could replace Van Dijk in the long term. Leeds just asked me, is he a long term replacement for Virgil? I think he could be. Of course, in terms of profile, Van Dijk is not left footed, but in terms of what he brings to the table, I feel like he could be the long-term successor for Van Dijk, and I would be happy to have him in our team. So yes, I do believe that he would be considered as his long-term replacement. But what would be great is that if he joined in January, he could play alongside Van Dijk and you know become a sponge where he learns all kind of gets all the knowledge and wisdom from Van Dijk, use him as a mentor, and just learn from one of the greatest defenders in recent years. So for me, it would be a smart move. I'm hoping Liverpool are doing their homework and trying to get him on board. If not in January, I can definitely see this being a more of a summer signing. But I'm hoping and praying that we get this done in January because we need another centre back. I mentioned it before. I don't see Mark Gay being a realistic option in January. I think he's going to hold out and make his decision at the end of the season, and then whatever offer comes to the table for him, that's where he will move on towards. I don't think he will move clubs for in January for a number of reasons. I don't think he will leave Palace, where they've had a great start to the season. They're pretty much in the top four or top six at least, so they've had a great start. And of course, they're in Europe, so he might want to end the season on a high, maybe try and go as far as they can in the Conference League, and maybe try and win some silverware before he leaves the club. So I don't think a departure is on the cards unless someone bids a silly amount of money that Palace can't reject, i.e., like a £25 million bid. Because that kind of price, um, you might as well accept that. We agreed a 35 million deal about 3 months ago. So, to have a deal placed of around 25 million and he's only got 6 months left in his contract, if I was Palace, I would take that. But, you never know. I don't see a club paying that much money, knowing that 6 months later he'll be a free transfer. So let's see what happens. But in terms of Schlotterbeck, yeah, this is the guy that I want to see in a Liverpool shirt very, very soon. Kratos, big up Kratos. He says, is Adeyemi the only option linked right now as an alternative to Semenyo? Since that breaking news yesterday, yes, he is. I have not heard any other links to another attacker. Last week we were linked with Barcola, and you may know we were linked with Barcola quite heavily in the summer as well. So at this stage, this is the latest name, I guess, as an alternative. But that doesn't mean that's the reality on paper. It could be where there's another name on the cards and we don't know about it because, quite frankly, the press haven't got that information from the club. The club are pretty much keeping it close to their chest, and that could be how we're moving. We've done that in the past. When we signed the likes of Gakpo kind of came out of nowhere because he was linked to United quite heavily before the January move, and then we ended up signing him, and then it was the same with Luis Diaz. So maybe we're working on some other alternatives because if they weren't looking at signing an attacker this January window, I think they may do based on what's happened with Isak. Although Arsenal did confirm that it was only a 2-month layoff for Isak. I thought it would have been a lot more. I thought it would have been double the time. So 2 months makes it the return will be around late Feb, early March. It's not too bad. March is that period of time in the season where games are piling up and you're in sort of stage of competitions where it becomes more highly pressured. So for me, I don't know if Adeyemi is the one for us. I think he's a talented player for £20 million. It's a bargain when it comes to a business point of view. But I mentioned in terms of off the field stuff regarding Adeyemi, I don't think he is the right profile or the right character to join a big club like Liverpool. There's too many issues in regards to his immaturity or mistakes he's made with the law. So that doesn't bode well, and I don't think Liverpool would go for a player that has that kind of history, unfortunately. So let's see. Tomorrow it might be a new name, or it's Christmas, so we don't know if we'll get any links to any new players. But I'm sure in the course of the next few days we will, as the window opens literally next week. Yeah, so maybe we'll get some sort of update in regards to a new player being linked, or maybe we get some concrete news that we've had talks or we've agreed terms with someone. So yeah, that's me being hopeful more than anything else, but let's wait and see. Bo, big up Bo. Says, sorry, Ozzy, but has celebrated Christmas today, so a bit late. Oh, no problem at all, Bo. This ended up being a bit more of a impromptu show. I wasn't scheduled on going live today, but yeah, appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you commenting as well. Uh, so let's move on and talk about the next player. So I mentioned this guy a few days ago, and he is the next Brazilian wonder kid in Brazil. So before the rumor was that we're heavily scouting him, but now there's been one step further, and apparently Liverpool have set their sights on the 17-year-old Gremio winger, and it goes by the name of Gabriel Mec, with an initial bid of 15 million euros. Though the Brazilian club are likely to hold out for a higher fee. So my thoughts on that: 15 million euro bid is about 10 million pounds. Um, I'm not surprised that they would want a bit more because that sounds a bit low. I know he's 17 years of age, but if he's supposed to be the next big thing, I'm expecting the club to demand for about 15 million pounds or 20 million pounds. Um, if he is a player that they are really serious about, then I think the best thing to do would be to agree a deal with this club, sign him for about 15 million pounds. So add another 5 million, so that'll be 20 million euros, and loan him out for another season to Gremio. So they have the player for another season. He can continue to play first team football there, continue development in an atmosphere where he has, gone through the ranks and he's comfortable with, and he can excel from that point of view, rather than sign him now and bring him to Liverpool, where 17 years of age, he's going to be a bit, you know, unsure in terms of where he stands, and he might even be told to go to the youth academy or the reserves, and I don't feel like that's the way to go. So I would rather he continue to ply his trade, in Brazil, get used to playing men's football because he hasn't played. He's only made a few appearances for the first team, so I don't think he's quite ready for that. But in terms of what he's done for their youth team, he looks a talent. They've likened him to Vinicius Junior. I'm not saying he's going to be that guy, but I see the similarities in terms of his dribbling style and the way he plays. He's actually a better, more comfortable, I would say, on the right hand side in comparison to Vinicius Junior. Vinicius Junior is pretty much just a straight out left winger. He can play left or he can play on the right. I think he even play up top as well. So uh, up top wouldn't be an option. He doesn't look like he's physically built for that, especially in English football. But on the wings, I think he would be a tricky customer for most fullbacks in the league. So I think he would be a good signing, but not for the first team. I think if we are trying to do the whole smart recruitment, let him stay at Gremio for maybe 1 or 2 seasons. 2 seasons is not even wild. Let him stay there for a couple of seasons. And once he's 19, 20, close to that age, bring him to Liverpool. Or if we still believe that he's not quite up to the standard that we want, loan him out to a European club and then let him ply his trade there. So maybe like a Portuguese club, or maybe it's a team in England would be great. But I think somewhere where he feels a bit more comfortable, and then that's when we bring him back, and then we can you know put him in the first team forward and take it from there. So that's just me being a long term visionary there. I don't know if that's realistic, but that would be the smart way to do it, and not pile too much pressure on the kid. And we can always take it year by year. If we feel like he's ready, then you can bring him on and use him in the first team. So I don't know. Let's see if there is any legs to his rumor. But we have been linked to him quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. So maybe there is some real truth, or there's a bit of smoke in this rumor as well. Now, uh, one more rumor, and that is regarding uh Omar Marmoush. Now, Man City could be willing to sell Omar Marmoush in January, uh, and apparently, there has been a few clubs linked to the likes of Tottenham has been linked with him, as well as Chelsea. I think have also been linked to him as well. So, with that said, does that mean that you know can Liverpool have a chance of maybe potentially reuniting two strikers, as you can see on the screen, in Omar Marmoush and Ekitike, who, to be fair, formed a great partnership together at Frankfurt. So, is that a possibility? Can we make that happen again? Me personally, in terms of the player, I rate Marmoush. I was a little bit disappointed that we didn't sign him last year because I feel like he would have been a fantastic player for the striker role, but looks very comfortable on the wings as well. So for me, he would have been a smart signing, but unfortunately, game time has been a bit of an issue for him. He's not been able to break into the team, and because of that, it's hampered his progression and it's hampered his minutes on the pitch as well. So maybe there's some sort of chance that we could sign him. I just don't think uh, Man City would be willing to do business with Liverpool. I don't think they would like to strengthen a rival in terms of their attacking department. So no, I don't see this being realistic, but it would be nice. It would be fantastic from our point of view because then, I've been saying it for a while, playing a 4-4-2 formation, 4-4-2 diamond formation, I should say, would be the route to go. And if we could do that by signing someone who really knows how Ekitike plays in Marmoush, we've already got a duo that know how each other plays, and it helps going forward as well. Um, so as much as this signing or this move for Marmoush makes perfect sense, I don't think it's a reality. Unfortunately, I don't think it's realistic, just because Man City won't sell him directly to a fellow rival. So, as great as it seems, unfortunately, this will not be the case. Before we close the show, we've got one more rumor, and that is regarding Kostas Tsimikas. Now, we all know that this player is out on loan. So the current rumor is that Roma manager Gian Piero Gasperini has decided that Kostas Tsimikas is no longer in his plans and will look to end his loan at the Serie A side. A return to Liverpool looks difficult with their current list of non-homegrown players currently full. Um, it's also been reported that the 29-year-old is looking to buy a house, sorry, in Glifada, which is fueling speculation that he could potentially return to Greece and return to his former club in Olympiacos. So my thoughts on this, I see there being legs in this one. Um, of course, a return to Liverpool would be great on paper because I feel like it gives us added quality and depth for that left back position. Then you can kind of revert to Robertson as a centre back option. Not saying that's what I want, but on paper we could use him in that role if needed. But with the homegrown quota, if we've got too many non-homegrown players right now, we've got no spaces vacant, then unfortunately this is not going to happen. So we'll have to move him on if there is some sort of agreement that we can cut that loan short. And it's a bit of a shame because this is the same situation with Harvey Elliott. They want to cut his loan short spell as well. Now, Simicast, although Harvey Elliott would be different because if he was to come to the club, he would be classified as a homegrown player. So we don't have an issue in regards to that. But with Simicast, it's a little bit tricky. It's a little bit difficult. I think a move back to his former club in Olympiacos would be fantastic in this stage of his career. 29, 30 years old, going back to his previous club. I think I would regard it as his home club as well. Um, I think that would make the perfect sense, and he's still able to play at a good level, in my opinion. So going back to Olympiacos would be a good move, in my opinion. So let's see, what happens with this. It's a bit of a shame that they are cutting his loan spell short. I think there's another couple of players. I think Leon Bailey's there. They're not happy with him, so they might even cut his loan spell short there as well. And I think there's another player I've forgotten now that they've got on loan. So clearly, loan players aren't working for a lot of clubs, and that's why they're trying to cut the ties as soon as possible in order to avoid any further financial implications, especially if there was an option to buy the player, or if there was an obligation in Javier scenario that is the case. But yeah, film for Simicast, but I think if he's able to get moved to Olympiacos, I think that would be a win-win situation for Olympiacos and for Simicast and Roma in this scenario as well. So let's see what the future holds. But that is for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Leave, thank you to Burton Jab, and thank you to Bo for your comments. As always, guys, if you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now, in terms of upcoming shows, I won't be doing a show today. I may be doing a show tomorrow on Boxing Day. I'll do the match preview of Liverpool versus Wolves. So feel free to tune in at around 11 p.m. UK time for that. If it's later, I will let you guys know. But the best thing to do is hit that notification bell so you know exactly what time the shows will begin. And then we'll do a live watch along on Saturday, as well as a match reaction show later in that evening. So that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And before we close the show, I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Hope you guys enjoy the festivities, spend time with your loved ones, and hopefully Liverpool can continue to notch up another win this Saturday and make it 4 in a row. So until then, take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak with you all very, very soon. Goodbye.